The Rebbe continues now Siv Zayin. So I mentioned last time it's a little bit Rishkin Pashta. We're going to go to push Tashed Aesius, but it's not a Indian Pashat. This Indian, it's not a regular Indian Shofis. But we'll see. Certain pratim will be more clarified in the Hemshech HaMaamar, but we'll try to see what they do. What does the Rebbe bring here? That Shteit Nechsidis the Gabi Yisrael all of Machshava. So basically, there's two types of Machshavas in general. There's one Machshava where the person is thinking, there's the Mahusa Adam himself, and then there's a person is involved, or he's Mashkiya himself, he's thinking about, he's Nikasher himself with an Indian, which is not him. So the Indian is, the way Rebbe Tasha here, it's lower than the Mahusa Adam. There's the Mahusa Adam himself, and then there's a certain Davar Nivdal that he's thinking about. So how much of himself is Miyuchad, is connected to that Davar? Only the Chitzenis of the Nefesh, that part of the Nefesh that he connected himself with that Metzias. I mentioned Trach Leganazar, the regular Machshava about something, the thing is not him. So his thinking about the thing is lowering himself down to be involved in something which is outside of him. So that's his Mahus liegt in them. Sein Mahus is nicht da in them. Okay, that's not, we're saying Legabi Mahus HaNefesh, Legabi the Nefesh Kveshu Batzmus is considered a lower Indian. He's lowering himself down, he's not nicht in them bashtet his Mahus. A chelik chitzeni of nafshe is monach in this Indian that he's involved in. Then there's machshava atzmis where a person is verbunden mit hazach b'chol mohusay. That's machshava atzmis. When he says Yisrael all of machshava, memeint ben machshava atzmis, not all of machshava. How Elukus became a makkah for a metzias, which that's regular machshava that he's thinking about something which is not him. He becomes a metzias. He becomes a makkah for a metzias shemichutz menu. Anytime he's speaking about an Indian becoming a makkah for something which is outside of it, it's already a yirida legabi the musa davar atzmai. Masha'enkein. When we're speaking, we saw all of machshava. It's not the regular musik of machshava where it's called a machshava. What's the lashon that brings the second eif in machshava? The not machshava atzmai. The other one is machshava, which is mechutz la'cheshev. So machshava, the machshava v'yid is machshava atzmis, which was the thing machshava atzmis that it's chad macheshev. That's the nekuda. Alein is in there. The cheshev, the ganzer cheshev is in there machshava. His whole mahus is there. That's the now. What's the rai? The rai is as steht in nimlach. Who is the Yivchar miyashiv? Whether he should zok bashaf and avel tzinish min nimlach and neshama Yisrael. When I say min nimlach, it's not only min nimlach. The hamlacha wasn't only legabi creating the world or not. Whether it should become a makkah for the mitzvahs, in the highest ephod of makkah, the kama dargis. Before there's this havas lopayil, there's kama dargis before his havas lopayil. It's already a makkah for his havas. So this is the Maamar in Tafshin where he brings this union of hamlachas. In the makkah elamis, there's the malchus datzilus amahaves hayesh. That's his havas lopayil. But then there's the machshava. There's the machshava klolis, the keser, which is the lufnei atzilus. Then the machshava gduma da'ak. When we speak about makkah for elamis, it's kama dargis. B'min nimlach is not only b'min nimlach whether there should be this havas l'poil. Tzis zal zayin der in olokos a makkah a shayches tavelt, which begins already. The machshava livre elamis is already a shayches bekesher with elamis, and b'min nimlach whether there should be a machshava a makkah for a metzias mishmisem shasadikim. So that's a raya that neshamas Yisrael are not considered. It's not considered a yerida. It's not considered a makkah for a metzias. If also yidna are makkah for a metzias, so they're also part of the nimlach. If yidna are part of the metzias ha'elam. And the pshat al machshava is that they also began their makkah, their sheidish is in via lakush tetishin al makkah for a mitzias. So how could they be the ones that you're nimlach whether to become a makkah for a mitzias? Zan alein in their target. You're being yashiv with someone that's higher than the Indian. That means that they're prior to that Indian. So that's a raya that yidn are mushish and the etzem azam eshet machshava which is chad with him. That's on one hand. Not via lakush verta makkah for a mitzias nor. The Yidn are Mushish and Machshava Atzmis, which was the Nekuda Machshava Ashmis, as Amashat Machshava, where the whole Muhus HaCheshev is there. A Machshava, a Kesher with something which is one thing with the other Macheshev. That's Machshava Atzmis. But so that's the Einzach. Now the Shaila is fakert. If Yidn are Mushish Machshava Atzmis, when you say that the Eibusher was Nimlach with them, whether there should be a Savas or Elamis, I understand what's the Indian Mishnah, but in Pashtus Advarim, when they say one person is consulting with another person, he's being Nimlach with someone else, whether he should do this thing or not. You consult with someone that on one hand he could have an object, he's beyond the Indian, but leidach he has a tfisa in the Indian that you're consulting with. If I steht bechal nicht an the Indian, so then it comes to chishmi yashiv zayin with them. You see, the Eibush was nimlach with neshamas Yisrael. Tzim is l'mashaf and avel. That means that he didn't have a shaychus to the Metzias, and therefore through them you could test whether the Indian of Savas Ha'elam is going to work out. But if you, so if them like if you the Rebbe, then machshava atzmis there's two dargis. There's one Indian, say in the Mashal he says, there's a mensch tracht about him himself, He's munach husay atzmi. Liegt in sich allein. That's called machshava atzmi shecheshev edis atzmi. That's the first darga. I mentioned there's no tnu of yitzia me'atzmi. In both Eifen, there's no tnu of yitzia me'atzmi. There's one Eifen that why with mitzad what is the machshava chad with him? Valseveganem. Husay atzmi. There's nothing else besides for him himself. So Azah Inyan has no shaykhs to mitzias. So we can't say with an akud of the etzim the way it's mufshit from any shaykhs to mitzias. He's chishtan a hamlacha whether there should be a makkah for mitzias. Then it brings another eifin in a mashal. I understand what it means in the mashal. It brings another eifin. We got to that. We started learning that, or that we got to the muvursham. Then we get to this part. Till now we must gesehen in the all.
Yeah.
So this is muvursham. The first thing is a raya. The fact that we mean nimla, tzis zol zayin azam esrat in from a makkah for a mitzias. Within Shamas Yisrael it means that Yidden there has cholas a mitzias if Yidden hebt sich geshtan via lekus vert a makkah for a mitzias. Yidden are mushish in the atmis of a lekus. Before a lekus is in a tnu becoming a makkah for a mitzias. And that's the varaya. There before there's the musik of the lekus becoming a makkah for a mitzias. That's in a brias elimus becoming a makkah for a and Yidden mizich meyashiv mitzay. That means that Yidden are higher than this. Darga in the Lakus for a version of Yerida Makkah for a mitzvah. That's a rad Yidden are mushrish in a darga which is chad im acheshiv atzmi. Ein zach mit emalin, mit etzem alim. But the shal is verkehrt. Muvur sham hatam al zes shamlocha v'achshav debir Yisrael is heisem Yisrael. Why is kaviyachol in a Lakus the hamlocha the shakvetarya? Whether it's worth it. This tzimtzum it's totally in the Shamas Yisrael. What's the Shamas Yisrael? Bechal no shaykhs to that Indian. So what's happens is not mit Welt l'chol. Yidden have no shaykhs to Welt. Yidden are one with atzmus. Prior to any musig mitzvahs, we saw the kishur kol achad. So who fought that in the avel? So muvursham and tafshin that time as Hashem lacha mashav debir Yisrael and says Yisrael. Shalom machshava atzmis. The shaila what's the shaila? After machshava atzmis, he l'maylim ma machshava debir Yisrael. It's the emali. So them zokter dort that machshava atzmis is two ifan. One even in shecheshet edis atzmi means alin liegt in them. For what's liegt alin in them? His home is there. Was vegen em. The mehusay atzmi. So mitzad that darge can er sein am loch aber es no shaykhs the welt. Wie steht in sich. But there's another even of machshav tracht the gnazach. It's loshen viel gebis. Shecheshe bedover hanib dominem. Tracht the gnazach. But after begin gamer tracht the gnazach his home is there. After begin eine machshav chutz meniki hu atzmi hu achish. I'm saying something in a mashal. I mentions some an inyan is negated, but this inyan nivdal is negated. His home is totally in this inyan. A dover nivdal, not something which is saying something. If a trachtig and a kin, so that's cheshiv edus atzmi. He's saying in the mashal. He's thinking there's something which is primius nafshi. He's saying a trachtig and a zach was nicht emali, but in even that this thing in them b'shteit kol muhusim mamish. There's no ace that's really what it means in the mashal. This is what the Rebbe says.
It's not banan. Later we say
no. Later it's a different word. Later it says it's something else. But I'm saying this word the parsha said trachtig and a dover nivdal. Person is thinking about the Chavesa project, but this project or the atzlach of this project in them likt kol muhusim mamish. This machshava, this kesher with this inyan is chad with him himself. I don't know where we find such a thing in a mashal. As I say, there's a musik machshava atzmis. Cheshiv dover hanivdal mimenu azach was nicht emalin a zweiter zach. But afal bekin, even though it's something which is not him, it's the kesher with that thing is not below him. Who atzmi him? His whole etzem is munach in that. As I stated, his whole etzem is munach in that. Who atzmi who achish? See, the only dogma that we have for such a concept, there's also not so much, but there's such a concept that in Chassidus you have a musig. I think it's in Shavuos Tafresh Samachay. There's in the Hemshech there that there's something which is called das hanelam, not das. There's chochmah bin and then das. There's something called das hanelam that a person. There's a musik that a person could be machriach himself to connect himself with something. But mentions machlit, let's say, it doesn't bring a dogma there, but let's say a dogma ba'alma, that someone is machlit, that he's taking a certain job, let's say. And this he could connect himself to it in a way that becomes his homos. Person who has the ability to be mekasher his etzem with something. I don't know if that's Sudah Azam thing, but Kaplan, what are the words that the Rebbe says here? That in the mashal there's some type of musik where a person trachteg and azach when their ganze he's not thinking about himself. He's thinking about ametzias, which is not him. But the whole cheshiv is munach in this mashal. The whole etzem husa cheshiv liegt in their mashal. So the caring about that thing is not a yitzir from him. It's one with him himself. in them liegt sein ganzer Mohus. As I in the Farad.
What's the first thing?
He's thinking it's negated because it's about him. A person is thinking about he's calling monach in something which is a person is thinking about something which is that in order to save his life. It's kol mahus is going to be in this machshava. It's something that's he's looking to save himself. Kol mahus is going to be monach in this machshava. Aber sevegen em. It's not a yitzim because it's about him. Here the Rebbe is saying a trachtag and azach, which is not him. But a person could siddha azam a certain musig where something which is not him is negate to you to the extent as in them liegt the ganze mahus adam liegt in them. And then the kesher to that in them bashtet mahus adam. That's one eif. It's two eifan. It's about him. The trachtag is it. That's didn't tafshin. In the marshal there's two things. So what did the Rebbe say? The Friedrich Rebbe says there that Zeshi Yisrael Olav Machshava who Eifen Abeis Shel Machshava Atzmus Shah Atzmus Cheshev Kvayochel Bedover Azulas. I understand what this means, but the Rebbe is saying here that when you speak about Nishamas Yisrael Olav Machshava, it's not an Eifen that's L'chatchil nor Em Kvayochel Nishamas are a Metzias, which this Metzias Kol Inyani is Atzmus. The Lashon Friedrich Rebbe says, we'll see in the Hemshechas, Friedrich Rebbe says there that it says Neshamas Yisrael are Kalim Ta'atzmis. When you speak about Machshava Atzmis, the first name, there's no Kali, there's him himself. Then there is Neshamas Yisrael Machshava Azach Kach Ole Berzene Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that there should be a Metzias and the whole inyan of this Metzias should be him. What's the Pshat Stirim Minei Ubei? I'm saying, we're not saying, we'll see in the Hemshech HaSicha, the Maamar, the Rebbe teaches later, that Oliver, the Eibishter wanted, Kavanas Atzmus was, that the fact that the Kesher to the Eibishter shouldn't only be mitzad the Tnu of Valsin Ishtakim Metzias. Even mitzad their Metzias, there should be, let's say, a Yid with a Guf, and he should have his own image, so to speak, his own Meich, his own Leib, and mitzad his Tziyur, so it's Chareis Manen, that Kol Inyan should be a Lukus. A Yid's a Keli Ta'atzmus. The Metzias of a Yid, his Meich, the Leiv, is a Keli, Ze Alein Zuchen Eis Atzmus. That's the same that Rebbe is saying here. Usually you say that mitzad the Sheirish and Shamas Beis Moshe Atzmus, there's no Metzias, there's only him, there's no Metzias. And mitzad that Dargan is Shtakin, there's no Seichel, there's no Midis, there's no Guf, there's no Tnu of Nifrit. Kol Inyani is the Makir. Oliver saying that the Yisrael K'shur Kol Achad shouldn't only be mitzad the K'chabrichu, so to speak. Even Yisrael as a Metzias, as an independent being, was Kol Inyanam should be him. That's the way the Rebbe teaches it later. He doesn't mefurish teaching this thing, but it sounds like it's a connection. What the Rebbe says here is, whether we understand it or not, that all Yisrael, all of Machshava is that a connection between Atzmos and a Davar. Doesn't mean Atzmos is lowering himself down and he cares about, you say, Stira would mean to say that Atzmos, you say, there's a Yid, there's Ruvain, there's Atzmos, and the Eibishter is not about himself, he's about something else. So then the center is Ruvain now. The center is not Ruvain. The fact that in Yoni, the Inyan of Atzmos, that should also be Mitzad Zulas. There's Zulas also in Yoni is Atzmos.
So Ruvain was created in order to be created for Atzmos. Yeah,
in order, that's in Geluim we say was created, but the Pnimius is that the all of Machshava for a Yid is that in Yoni of the Metzias of a Yid should be Atzmos. Not only soll nicht sein Metzias. In Yoni von seinem Metzias soll sein the Eibishter himself. It's the Atzvas is an Adavar Nibda. How does that look in Eisis Lupail? That also mitzad a Yid via steht as Metzias. He's a Mechor Metzias in the world, and he sees Elam Hazeh. What does he want? What is he looking for? He's looking for Dveikus with Eibishter himself. Mitzad the point of view of Metzias, Zuchter das. Also mitzad the Guf of a Yid, Zuchter Atzvas. From wann hebt sich Hasam B'Sheirish? Because the all of Machshava, the Pchiras Atzmas was that the fact that the home of Yid is him should also be that mitzad the gather of Zulas of Yid should also be. You understand the word? I'm saying a taich, but what are the words the Rebbe says here? Oh, you see, so all Machshava is Gefen Abeish Machshava Atzmis. It's the Atzmos is invested in a Davar Nivdal. What does it mean Atzmos invested in a Davar Nivdal? That also mitzad that Tzir Nivdal Kol Inyani is Atzmos. That's what the Rebbe teaches. The words here are Vider Etzem is Komo who say is invested, is shakua in a davar nivdal. That's the lashon the Rebbe says here. But here you can have the taich, so he's not about him, he's about someone else. But the word is, you'll see the taich later, that even mitzad a yid, the way he's nivdal, even mitzad his accord, not because the Eibishter is Meir, mitzad the gather of the mitzias of a yid, kol inyani is atzmos. From wann it hates a chasan? Because the shadish of Yid and the Eibishter is that the etzem mamish is shakua and a davar nivdal, and something which is not him. The etzem is done a davar nivdal. It's not that the etzem is, it's not about him, it's about the davar nivdal. So we er likt in a davar nivdal. We're never leaving, the atzmos is no mocha for a mitzias. But it's the way atzmos mamish is cheshiv, kaviyachol is munach, is shakua in something which is not him. So what's the nekudah of a yid? On etzem the way is, atzmos the way is in a mitzias. That's the mocker. What? I'm saying, how do you touch these words? I'm saying these words are him the Geverta Rebbe. But the way the Rebbe touches later, the Rebbe says there that when the Eivish was Beichon and Shamus Yisrael, but the Ratz Amuchat Batzmus is that a Yid's bittul Tolukus shouldn't only be mitzad the fact that there is nothing outside of Atzmos. Even Atzim Mitzias, Kol Inyani is bittul Tolukus. You understand what I'm saying? Even mitzad Yisei B'Pashtus, how does the Shach to say something which is a davar? A Yid as an image, as he has a guf, and he has a Mitzias, a Yid Kamei Shu, his Me'ach V'Leiv. Could Me'ach V'Leiv be a Keli Tatzmos? Or Me'ach V'Leiv is Gvul, how could it be a Keli Tatzmos? Does like Minish does it? All of Bertzena answers that the kesher of a Yid to the Eibishter himself should be a Na'ifin, that also mitzad is Mitzias, Zuch der Atzmos. Wie hebt sich das an? Mitzias ist doch not a Makar Tatzmos. That's Yisrael all of Machshava, as they to the Eibishter gewollt, as der ganzer Etzem should be in a Davar Nivdal. So,
stay Pashut when he does this?
The whole Etzem, Ha'atzmos Mamish. The Etzem Kamei is in a Davar Nivdal. What does that mean? How did Rebbe touch later what it means? The fact that a Yid, even Alza Mitzias, is a Keli Ta'atzmos, so to speak. Means that a Yid's Aved in his Guv and Nefesh Bahamis, and he's Mevatel himself to the Eibishter. This bittul to even a Yid, the way is, it's not Nigash Lukas Begoli. A Yid mitzad his Mitzias, Zucht, is Vatel for the Eibishter himself. The stand from them, because the Sherish of a Yid in the Eibishter is, the Sherish Melchatchil is, that Oliver Tzayni, that Kol Inyani of the Nivdal should be him. So the Atzma steht not about Nivdal, not the way he's moved from you understand that concept or no?
So the Tzir of Atzmos is the Tzir of Yid?
What do you mean Tzir? Atzmos is beyond Tzir. The Eibishter Kamei Shu B'Atzmos say, does Talein lik Tanayit? The Eibishter himself lik Tanayit. The question is, which Atzmos you say, what's a Yid that Inyani is Kutchabrichu? So you say, so there's no him, Kutchabrichu. Even mitzad the him, Kol Inyani is Kutchabrichu. Even mitzad the Yid, the way he's an image, what is the whole koch of this image, mitzad his point of view, the Eibishter himself? How does that begin? How does that begin that a mitzvah is Kol Inyani is Atzmos? Well, because the sherish of a Yid is, wie der Eibishter hat sich allein reingelegt, so to speak, in a Davar Nivdal. Which, in other words, means that Kol Inyani of the Davar Nivdal is Atzmos.
Again, you don't know the question, that's how it started.
So the Inyan B'Pnimi is how does this look in Atzmos? We have no tzir. I'm saying, what does it mean Atzmos? The Rebbe touches what results of this? What I'm saying is, we'll see later. What I'm saying is, as a third word, L'Payel, there's a Yid living in Elam Hazard. Right? We're not one with Atzmos. We're not one with it. We're on Metzias. And this Metzias, Saf Kol Saf, is Mekabel Malach Shamayim. A Yid on this world is Mekabel Malach Shamayim. He dedicates himself to Elokus. Where does this the Vawashik Faran as a Metzias that he is a Metzias, and as an independent person, no one's forcing him to be one. A dependent person, you decide to give yourself over to the Eibishter. So that you could say that doesn't express the neshama the way it is in Atzmos. That's a lower Inyan. The Yid became a Metzias, and the blessed bread, at least the way you're on Metzias. The Rebbe says no. The fact that the reality is that there's a Yid Lamat and Elam Hazeh, which the Eibishter, which is a Metzias. And as a Metzias, and even as an independent being, about this up to the Eibishter, that is what's Oliver saying. That's what's Oliver Rotten in Atzmos. That the fact that Kol Inyana of a Yid is Kutchabrichu should also be mitzad the Metzias should be, not only mitzad the Eliyah. Chapter the minyan.
You want to say Atzmus is higher than all of this. So how are you able to say
What does it mean? We're not lowering Atzmus. The same Atzmus Kamaishu Hu Ba'atzmusay. The Shaila is, in order to have Atzmus, only mitzad the fact that there is no mitzias, there's Atzmus, or even mitzad mitzias, kol inyani is bittul to Atzmus. That's the question.
So that's not a Zulas.
So, but what's the pshat kol? A yid in this world is a Zulas or not? A yid in this world. Huh? But
How did the Zohar start? Where does it begin from?
that's all about saying Atzmus. The Eivish is not the Eivish is gewollt that Era Lane should also be in a Davar Nivdal.
Yes, what is it though? How does it give them? Kol Inyani is Atzmus. It never began.
But the fact Kol Inyani is Atzmus, how does it work B'Pel Mamish? Forget about the Sherishim. B'Pel Mamish. A Yid's a Metzias here in this world. Is Mekabel Malch Shamayim? Did someone force him Mekabel Malch Shamayim? Or he mitzad his own accord? So even mitzad Metzias is Mekabel Elukus. Where does that come from?
How here?
Well, how does that come from? But this phenomena here, where does it come from? That's Moshe Shanatzmus. This is a yid the way is Moshe Shanatzmus. That even mitzad alt Metzias, Kol Inyani is Elukus. So it's a still in You're saying as a Metzias, he's living in this world. Then he sees Mekabel Malch Shamayim. Okay, so L'chatchila wasn't. Not L'chatchila wasn't. This is the phenomenon of Mitzal Atzmus, the fact that Yisrael Kushmir Kol Echad is not only Yisrael Kushmir Kol Echad because there's an Eivish there. That's Kol Inyan of Yisrael. In Kol Inyan of Yisrael, from their point of view, is Kushmir. The fact that the whole Inyan is Atzmus, that's also Mitzad the Metzias of Yid Kol Inyan is Atzmus. So you're saying, that's why it's Shver Ha'esis. It's Chashim Davar. They're saying, Mitzad, the Eivish, that's all over. We'll see later. Lamer Zen Shpeter.
So we're saying Mitzad Atzmus, there's a Ratzim for the VAs. There should be something else besides the Atzmus not to show?
Not something else. That the Inyan Habitl should also be Mitzad together in Mitzvahs. Lamer Zen the Maamar, we'll see the Lamer Zen a bit in the Maamar. I'm saying these days, Lamer Zen a bit in the Maamar, it will be clear. A little bit more clear. I'm saying from here, right now, what we know is that there is Machshava Atzmus and there's Atzmus the way it's connected with a Davar Nidal. Atzmus Mamish the way he's verbunden mit der Davar Nidal. Let's say we don't know what this means, but this is Sudah Zayin. You're saying not, I just want to be, there is no, to say that Atzmus is Kaviyachol, not about him, it's about something else. Something else, that's I'm saying, something else is the center, that's Chas V'Shalom to say, that's not what we're saying here. We're saying, we're talking about Atzmus, Inyani is him. And Hulavadi Yovein Zalasa. But Sedavi, their Inyan, steht in a Davar Nidal. The Inyan that everything is about him, their Inyan Gufa steht in a Davar Nidal.
So how can you see the Davar Nidal from Atzmus?
It's not about Davar Nidal. We'll see later. Why is there a Davar Nidal? Because Oliver saying that his truth should also stem and come out from the point of view of a Davar Nidal. The Pnimius is also all to bring out the Inid Vadi of Atzmus.
So it's not actually a Davar Nidal.
But is the Eibishter Mugder that? We'll see later. I think that's a general question. You say, the Eibishter created the world in order to bring out that even a Tachton can be a Keli for him. So what is it a Tachton? But this is true. We're not. It's taka true. There's a gather of Niflan, also it's a of Niflan. It's all about it. Lamer Zen. The Friedgeber's Lashon, I think, in Tafshin is that Lamer Zen a bissel weiter per Berte. Saying, what the words here? Machshava Atzmus in Negei Sham Yisrael is the Inyan of Atzmus, the way it is in a Davar Nidal. As I stated. So if you're saying that it's about a Davar Nidal, so it's nicht Emalei. It's the way he's a Makkah for a Metzias. It's him the way he is Batzmusay. Him the way he is Batzmusay in a Metzias. In a Davar. What does that mean? What does this mean? So this is all Tzmamish. I'm saying this is not das steht nicht auf this word. This Sagraim. So v'zeh but I'm the key was the share shel neshama so machshava atzmis. Was for if machshava atzmis sha'atzmus cheshev kvar yochel b'davar azulas. L'chein gam la'achi shebo b'am shachim k'meivan. In the fact, Ben doesn't express the Makar Yidin the way they are Moshe and Atzmas Mamish. Avu Ben is already a kesher which is based on a certain seer. We have in Evraim a Zasert Farbund of a Avu Ben. It means that there's a certain, you say, hasbara, or the reason for the connection. A certain, the connection is based on a factual thing. Because the Av is the Makar for the Ben. When you speak about Atzmas, it's before there's any facts. There's no system of a relationship mitzad atzmus. There's no gdarim at all. And there, meret ayid chad with atzmus is with atzmusi mamish, onataish. A father and son is there's the etzem husa'av bli kesher to this tzir as being a makkah for a ben too. The kesher of Abba Ben is already also connected not to the nefesh the way he's mufshet legamri from any definition at all. That's mevesim stam in the service the Rebbe. So Sham is the way the Moshe and Abba Ben is already the neshama the yid comes up already in amshacha. The way it's already starts being nitztayer in a tzir already. The kesher with the Yivchar Mitzad has no taich. The Yivchar is beyond any definition. So there's no uptaich. How do we explain this link? It's a yichud mitzad atzmus. Atzmus himself is a shlulas kol ha'teirim, and the yichud in was b'shteit the einzigkeit is also higher than any agdaris. You can't describe with what does a yid one with Eibush. It's beyond any description. The Shloime atzmus himself is beyond any description. His yichud with a yid is beyond any description. Which Neshamas bonim lafshem lekechem the hezber. A yid na mushrish the same way a ben is nevea mitzad chveis tipas mecha etzem ha'av. Oh, there's a yid na mushrish in the nekuda of a lekus, the nekuda atzmus, not the etzem mamish. The way lekus is already connected to a certain seer, and there is the chachmi chveis tipas chachmi ilah mamish, and for dort nishtam ben that's already a certain type in the yichud of Abu Ben. But also there, what do we see in Amshach? That the yidden, the difference between yid and Torah. In the Maamar, I think if you think about there, in the Maamar speaking about the chiluk between Torah and a yid. That Torah lechat chiluk is ratzon elyon. A yid tziyurei achitzeini is not the bemet alakus l'chor. As a me'ach v'leiv is not the tzir achitzeini of a yid is not alakus. So it's a theory. It means al derech Abu Ben, al derech Moshe Davar Azulas. That what's the nekuda of Abu Ben? It's the etzem ha'av the way he comes in a tzir which is not him. Mitzad etzem uhos of the father and son, they both are neveah from the same etzem, the same which word to use in the same uhos hamitzius, the same etzem mitzius, same DNA. But there's the way this etzem is mitztayer in the tzir ha'av, and there's the way this etzem is mitztayer in a different tzir, in a tzir of the son's image, which is a different tzir, not the same tzir of the father. A son is a personality for himself. So it's the etzem the way is mitztayer in another tzir. That's Abu Ben. You say a person's chachma is not his etzem, but it's the hisgalus of his etzem. A ben is not the hisgalus of; he's an independent mitzias. But it's the same mitzias of the father via kum tareis in a tzir shem, in a tzir nivda. So what's deeper, the father's chachma or the father's ben? So one of the father's chachma is not another tzir; it's him himself. That's his espashus. A ben is not the espashus ha'av, but it's the etzem ha'av the way he comes into a tzir of zulas. So there's some vanish tamtis. Because a yid b'pnimi yusay is the atzvus is verboten mit ha-mitzias. The mela also they comes b'am shacha, which means there has to be a little hezber b'am shacha. There has to be a link between the mitzias and the makir. It's a nivdal. In atzvus can man sagen atzvus is another nivdal. Untaichen. But in hamshacha, that was what's the a kesher atzmi to something which is not a spashas of the alien. So that's the mitzias of a ben. Mitzias of a ben is it's the etzem the way is mitztayer in a tzir b'fnei.
Why is this like in the Shabbat Yid also? Maybe that's the way the Eibush looks at it. The Shabbat Yid is regular Shabbat. I mean, saying the Eibush is thinking about another Zulas that's connected to him. So why do you think that becomes the seas of the Shabbat now?
What do you mean becomes?
I mean, like
we're saying what is a neshama? There's the phenomenon, whatever that means. There's the
Not the way the Eibush looks at it.
Not the way the Eibush looks at it. This what do you mean the way the Eibush looks at it? This is the sherish of a yid. Atzmas b'davar azulas adas a yid. This. What do you mean the whole point is him and a nivda, not the zulas.
So that's the way
him in a nivda.
It doesn't mean that comes.
That's the mitzias. What else is there? No, I'm thinking about it. It's not a shadow of thinking. It's a mashal. I'm saying with it. Atzvus and a nivda, that's a yid. Atzvus and a davar nivda, that's a yid.
So just like you could have a regular davar nivda, no person thinks about it, no person is shy.
No, but you're talking about a davar nivda that there's a reality here. You can think about it. That's not what the Rebbe is saying here. There's nothing. There's no mitzias. There's no vel to garnish his stuff. Only b'tzaynei that he should be kol muhuti should be shakua in a mitzias. From dort nigavar yid. That's a yid.
That's what it means that Shabbat is thinking about the Zulas.
Vada, there is not that. It's already davar nivla kayam. No, sure. No, that's not the word. This is the Inyan. Atzvus and davar nivla. That's a yid. No, that's the zichar. Not that there's a davar nivla and then he gets involved in it.
It's not a flaw that atzvus could be in a davar nivdal.
It's not about a flaw. It's not. What
It's
do
not
you,
about a flow.
it's not about a flow.
But it is not.
Because then it's not. The whole hymn is not there.
Okay, fine. Okay, good.
We're saying the whole hymn is there. Let's see what it's saying here. We have to. I'm saying we're learning the Eisus Chassidus, but we'll see what the Rebbe is mevayed. But let me say the word. I'm saying, see, we verstehen das nicht. This is the. What does the Rebbe say? Which what type of machshava atzmus? Means v'etzem gefinzach in azar, whatever that means. So lachen gamla, but there, it's the yichud is beyond taich. The pshat etzem adavar nivdal is beyond the description. Then there's the gamla achre shabo b'amshach. The kesher of Yidu Deibisher comes in the eifin of a certain tzir, a certain tfisa. But what is it? Him k'mei banim. Shebe ben is dugma shtein adam anal. On one hand, the ben is a mitzvah b'fnei atzmi. He's a davar nivdal. Va'afal b'kein yesh b'mei atzmi sav. The nivdal is not fully nivdal. In a certain way, in the sheresh ha'amiti, it's atzmos mamish, not the way the av is a makkah for the ben, because the av a makkah for the ben is already the etzem, the way he is. You see, the etzem gefinzach shen natzveiter mitzis, not the etzem is batzmosei. Masheg in sheresh and neshamis, it's the etzem k'meishu batzmosei, and it's the etzem k'meishu batzmosei, the way he's not over nivdal legamri, which we'll see later. Masheg by ben, so it's already the way the yichud comes in a certain tfisa. So there, it's the etzem via shteit and azulas. Ben is not a fully union of davar nivdal. He's a person for himself, but there's a similarity between the son and the father. So the whole, it's a tzir which stems from the same etzem. If it's a tzir noiseh which comes from the same etzem, there's going to be similarities from these two tzir. Mashing what the Rebbe is saying in the Gabi Atzmos, it's atzmos k'meishu hu mamish, not the way he's a makkah even for a mitzias of a ben, the k'meishu hu mamish, via shteit in a davar nivdal mamish. But then what this means, but atzmos shteit in davar nivdal, or how the uptouch is going to be. I'm telling you now, the way the uptouch ends up being is that the inyan habitul. Maybe just look at this line. Just the life shouldn't is understand as ishver.
Did you just say the Shai connection?
I just want to show you where I think is a word which will help us understand a little bit this line. But there's a lot of pratim here. But where is it? Here, look at the. There is the whole chiddush over here. Should we go up a seder or we can't get a seder? I'm going to give a seder. Look upon it. Huh? No, we'll go to seder. We'll go to seder. No, but this is what it says here. Oh, v'lachein. So now that I was saying, since the Indian of Nesher Shisham Yisrael ba'atzmos is the way atzmos is the way the etzem is connected to mitzias somehow. The way atzmos is linked to mitzias, which of course doesn't mean literally that atzmos and the mitzias go together, but that means that kol inyan of the mitzias is atzmos. That's what I'm trying. But I go upon atzmos and the mitzias lachein. Das hat a shaykhis the welt. Why? Lachein amlacha machshav the Elul is Heisem Yisrael. Because what the kavanah b'riyas Elul is shatachtenim yudir leis barach. Welt should be a keli tatzmos, and that's the neshamas. Neshamas are a maven in this inyan of atzmos via shabudim mit mitzias. Welt is a mitzias. It's a pasha tachtim. It's not atzmos v'davar nivdal. Welt is a mitzias. And the kavanah why they created a welt is as mizal pelzen at the mitzias zal verna keli and become badal to atzmos. Wer hat that fist in atzmos with the mitzias? That's the neshamas Yisrael. So darf man sich miyasher sein mit zeh. So a yid, the kaviyachol, the inner atzmos k'meishu mitzad atzmi the ways cheshu b'des atzmi. Das hat sich gescheiches sa welt. Then there is welt itself is a mitzias. What the kavanah? Why this mitzias was created? That mitzias should become didol atzmos, should become a keli to atzmos. So that's in neshamas in yanam atzmos v'yer verbunden mit mitzias.
Machshava means reason.
Huh?
What does machshava mean? That there's the reason of the world.
Who yidden?
What's machshava? Yeah.
But I don't understand what you're saying.
Machshava
Atzmos, but it's the atzmos is linked with the mitzias.
Why is machshava?
Because it's what do you mean machshava? You know, it's not that they're just sitting and thinking. It's not the same. Machshava means that the mensch is munach in eves. The mahos is munach in a certain Indian. So usually you're munach when you're munach in something. So it's the etzem the way is lower than and here it's the whole etzem is munach in that Indian. Yeah, it's not about the thought process right now. That we inside the musik of thought so much. It's not the knech so much.
The second thing is different than the first thing.
What's the second thing?
Even Machshava.
Steht nicht
The
da.
first even Machshava is just saying gay on it.
Chesed v'des atzmai.
Yeah.
You don't have a tafshin over here. They have it over
Second
there.
even is who answers me what
It's not a shell of hecher nidriker. It's not a shell of hecher nidriker. He says there that by that there's. It says a lashon here. Huh? Says the same lashon at the same lashon. But he's mechalkin here. He's mechalkin neshama and Torah. So Fidiga says, by the way, stam. I don't know. Machshava atzmis k'mesha nereim b'chush. There's a person thinking about something which is negea to himself, and is thinking about mashacheshet b'shenegea la'atzmi, but it's a davar nidba. Mensch trafik in a zweite Sache, was negea zu him. But it's negea to kol muhusay. Something else is negea to the whole problem. I'm saying, but in the mashal, so the center is this thing. This thing matters to you. Here, it's not that the Metziah is Yid instead of him. I'm saying David is not about him, it's about a Yid. But there's a davar nivda which is negea to his etzem. So what does that mean in uptach lepayil? Is that the Indian habitol should also be inside davar nivda. Okay, that we'll have to see.
What's the reason why a Yid is so negea to Hashem's etzem?
That's the Metziah of Yid. Kach olabert, that's the Eibishter olabert sein atzmusei. What I'm saying is, you ask me a question. The way the Alter Rebbe says they got in this Ave, that everybody else was looking for explanations why they've created the world, right? What did the Alter Rebbe say? So what's the beer always? You ask a question means, what do you mean you have a question? You say, why is Ruvain there? It means you know Ruvain, but he shouldn't be there, he should be somewhere else. So you have a question, why did Yivchar create the world? What do you know about him that makes you ask this question? So you're looking at him in a certain way. The Yivchar is so lofty, why is he creating a little world? Who told you that who told you that he's lofty? How do you don't know anything about him? He's beyond any description. So whatever he wants, that's where he is. So what's your question? Why he created the world? You understand what I'm saying? So what the Sherish and Maamar and Shamas Yisrael is the Eibusher is beyond any definition. And Oliver Tzayni that there should be a Metzias that Kol Muhusay should be in this Metzias. You should have Ave Verotz in the Kesha and Kol that this Metzias should be one with him. Kach Oliver Tzayni. There should be a Metzias that Kol in Yoni should be him. I'm saying the San Shala why. So this is before the concept of why came into being.
But it's only once you had this Bechira. We weren't always.
What do you mean once? But what does once mean?
What does once mean?
Oliver Tzayni that does it. You're saying once means that really he shouldn't have been there. That's the source of saying that it's Davar Shnis Chadish. Why is he in such a mode? Why is he in such a mode? We're saying that he's not limited in any mode. And Bachar b'Bchiras Yachov is that where should he be? Where is the whole etzem in a Yid? The whole etzem is there should be a Metzias the whole Eibusher should be in that Metzias.
The difference between before Bechira and after.
There should be a Metzias that the whole Eibusher should be in that Metzias. Kach Oliver Tzayna Atzmas. That's a Yid. It became a reality of a Yid, which in Vos liegt in a Yid, the Eibusher liegt in a Yid. That's the Yid's whole Kach, and the Eibusher Shtek is his Mahos HaPnimis. And that's Oliver Tzayna Ha'atmish LaKadosh Baruch Hu. That there should be Oliver Tzayna, there should be a Metzias which call the whole Mahus of this Metzias should be a Lukus. And the ganzer Eibishter is all Zayin in their Metzias. It's not a limit. It's not there's a small being. The Kol Inyan of this Metzias is that. A Yid's beyond that. But let's see the Asis of the. I'm saying Asis here. They're not necessarily so. That is a.
You're in Tafshin or in the?
No, so in Tafshin he says a lashon there that why is this Avos Elmas Adei Yisrael? Here. Oh, he says Mashu Atzmos in a Shaykh Mashu Keli La'atzmos. A Metzias is not a Keli Ta'atzmos either. No one's a Keli. A Metzias is a Metzias, not a Keli Ta'atzmos. Neshamas Yisrael liyesh all Machshava Atzmos yesh them Shayches La'atzmos on one hand, but liidach him Kedim La'atzmos. Because all the Machshava Beifan HaBeis. Versteht ihr mich? Lamer Zen, ich habe gesagt, we have to see the Hemshech HaDvarim. Where is the here consistent? Good. Lamer Zen a bisschen weiter. Now, there is like this. So now, bracht früher that the state in Chassidus that in order for this to be the Metzias and Hashem, there's two reasons, so to speak. There's a whole, I'm saying there's some points going to be, this Maamar is nicht as a pashat. but we'll see this. What did Rebbe say before? That in order, the Binyan HaMalchus need for two things. You need for Havas HaNeshamis and you need for Havas HaElemis. As the Rebbe gesagt für Havas HaElemis and Havas HaNeshamis. But the Rebbe is Machalik. Elemis, you need Binyan HaMalchus for Havas HaElemis because in order for there to be a Welt, you need to have the Binyan HaMalchus. Ein Melech B'leim. Mash ein kein legabe till this HaNeshamis because Malchus and Neshamis in Binyan HaMalchus. As ich steht there. So, Rebbe teaches here, Shloime, what's the shaychus of Neshamis LaMalchus? K'meishim b'shar shemachshava atzmis. What's the shaychus in Shadish on Neshamis? The way the Malchus, this Inyan that atzmos cheshiv kvayocha v'dover azulas who dugmas HaMalchus. Inyan HaMalchus who azulas dafke im melech b'leya. The mitzad Shadish Malchus is also the kesher of the Elyon to HaMetzias. And the Shadish of the Yid and Atzmos is the Nekud of Atzmos connected to Metzias. So it does the Zalbe in the Shamis, it is Zalbe in for Malchus. This is the point. This is I'm saying this is going to be a beer for this is the search for the beer behemshich. Well then. But Pizeh, so the Rebbe says, Pizeh ish levar atama zeh shadik gilei etzem anasham and nasa bin Malchus. Ki aidei shem izgal l'sheresh anasham k'mei shehub machshava atzmis nasa aidei amshavas hamalchus meshor shamitik mei shehib machshava atzmis. What is the Rebbe saying here? There's no hezbollah yet, but what does the Rebbe say the facts? The facts is, let's say we don't understand everything. The Rebbe is saying the Uddis. State in Chassidus that Nishamas all of Machshava is Machshava Atzmis in a way that the Atzmis is connected to Azulas. Mitzad that Indian Vertavelt. That's the Shaykhs of a Yid to Dirib Tachtoinim. Because the Kavan of Dirib Tachtoinim is Atachtim, which is the Keli Ta'atzmos. So the Rebbe says, Lefi Zeh is the same Nekuda of Neshama Malchus. Neshama is Atzmos verbunden mit HaMetzias. And that's the Nekuda of Malchus. Atzmos, Elikus verbunden mit Azulas. So b'shas wird nizgal sheresh neshama and atzmos. Sheresh neshama and atzmos is atzmos linked with Azulas. So the result of that is going to be a nekuda of Zulas and the Zulas in the Kaplan Malchus like this word. A nekuda of Malchus. Zulas which is batul Elikus. This nekuda of atzmos cheshik v'yochav davar Azulas. That's the same concept of Malchus. That's called Malchus. No, before that's already before. Velt is a Metzias. An Neshama is not a stone. An Neshama is not a Metzias. An Neshama is Atzvos in a Metzias. That's the Tchila an Neshama. An Neshama is not an image. An Neshama is Atzvos in a Metzias.
Malchus is going to have the same thing. The Shor should also be the same thing.
No, so that's Malchus. The Neshama is Yisrael. The way the Moshe and Atzmos is the Atzmos Cheshev V'Davar Azulos is the concept of Malchus. And in other words, we see there's a musik of Ein Melech B'lei Yam Kipshutai, which is a connection between an Elyon and a Zulas. The Sheresh HaMiti of this institution of Malchus with an Am stems from Atzmos Cheshev Kvayocha B'Davar Azulas. As ich stehe da. So Mele, when it's, as what Rebbe is saying, the Uftu regularly, so usually we understand is like this. We usually understand is that Shoshana, so it's really so late. Ich nicht gewollt, dass ich viel darstellen da, because the MS, there's no, I'm saying, a little bit more of a tfis than what the Rebbe is saying here, like I mentioned before a few times, we'll see from later, and then the puzzle a little bit fall together. But I'm saying that's the Echet Bertebus, and the Rebbe says I'm saying this is Berter and Maamar, so nicht as a, but what the Rebbe says here, usually say Binyan HaMalchus, how does Binyan HaMalchus work? So Binyan HaMalchus, I mean, look at the Torah and the Kabbalah. I'm saying, the way it says it is that we want the Eibush to be a Melech Aleilum. We give a Lukusim Velk, whatever you want to touch, Melech Alam, Kabbalah Mechutz. We asked the Eibush to be a Melech. They're saying a whole different touch. Shefer is this godless of the Etzem of a Yid. The Etzem of a Yid is Atzmas with Azulas. Was that the Sheresh HaMiti of the institution of Melech V'am? The Sheresh HaMiti of a Metzias being Mekabel Il Malchus Shamayim. The Eibush being a Melech Al Zulas. Shershi HaMiti is Atzmos Cheshik Vayocha B'Davar Azulas. Or the Sheresh HaMiti. Direi B'Tachteinim is his galus, or the Gili L'Poyel of the way of what a Yid Pnimi Yosei is Atzmos B'Davar Azulas. There's the way it expresses itself in Direi B'Tachteinim. So there's the Sheresh is Neshamis with Atzmos, and then there's the way it expresses itself in the fact as a Tachten Vertadira. So that's the Nukot of Malchus also. Diver Din Malchus, a Yid comes, Shoshana Vert is Gal, the Pnimius of a Yid. The Pnimius of a Yid is Ha'atzmos Cheshek Vayocha V'Davar Azulas. Von dem Vert, as a Vert HaMelech Alam. It's not that we beg him and the Atzma says yes, I'll ready to be a melech. Yid Megal is previous. And the Sheidish Hamit of Yid in Atzmas is her Atzmas, the way it's connected to Adav Razulas. And that's Sof Kol Sof, it's realized in Ishtalshul, sincere in Melech Val. There's in the way it is in Atzmas is beyond any definition. And there's the way it comes down in reality is Sof Kol Sof Melech Val. We'll see the beer. I'm saying that's and that's the B'Tachtenim. That a Tachtin is bottled to him. Yeah, we'll see. And I'm saying the Rebbe is saying this is the Musik Abinin Amachos is in Yana Kabbalah. So someone says, let's say, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be Megash Adin, I'm just trying to say the concept. Someone says, you're saying you're explaining a Chiddush and how to touch the Indian, and then the Rebbe is it's going to become Behezbra a little bit. It's Masber Zayn. But first the Rebbe is saying the Musik Abinin Amachos state. And that Shkia Sheifer is connected to the Etzem. The Rebbe is saying a new beer. What's the pshata through Shkia Sheifer v'ed binin amalchus? So the Rebbe is saying the beer Guf Hadvar. State the Chassidus is Machshava Atzis of Razulas. That's the Sheidish Hamiti for the Musik of Ben. Whether you understand this shmuz is not chazak. Lepel state as in Chassidus that Machshava Atzis is v'dav Razulas. B'meilas the Rebbe linked to. That's also why the Yid comes in a sort of a Ben, not like Teira, which Teira is Chachmaz Shlakadish Baruch. Teira is also Moshe Shnatzis, but Teira is not the same. Teira is, let's say, Cheshevet Atzmi, let's say, for the sake of this raid. But Shekin a Yid is a Pavas Kult a Yid a Reis Natzir from Ben, because he is Moshe Shnatzis, we are Favudim et Azulas. But that's also the reason why the Kavan of Direi B'Tachtenim is Dafke through a Yid. Because Direi B'Tachtenim of a Tachtin, being a Keli Ta'atzmus, is the Gilui of what a Yid is. Saf Kosaf, which we'll see later. Now the Fisa the Rebbe explains that the Binyan a whole different Eifin of Binyan HaMalchus. The Binyan HaMalchus is it's a whole different Eifin of Binyan HaMalchus. The Vert Nisgale der Etzem von Ayid. The Meile Vert Nisgale the Malchus the way it is B'Sharshe. And that in the way it is B'Sharshe, from there results the Pelamish. In other words, if there wouldn't have been this Indian of Binyan HaMalchus every single year through a year, so this time it's da Welt and the Eibush is a Melech von a Welt, and that would have stayed La'ad Elol Me'elamim. Then it wouldn't be Nisgale, what's the Indian Pnimi in the fact that the Eibush is a Melech Alayla, and there was Bria Seilums. So as the Eibush eingestellt the Welt in Ha'efen, that every Shoshana Yidden tun auf, wie tun das auf Yidden? In was for the Eifen wird der Welt, through Rosh Hashanah, it's Nisgale the Pnimis of a Yid. And when it's Nisgale the Pnimis of a Yid, Saf Kol Saf results in the Eibush being a Melech Alayla. Why? Because hebt on Meir and B'Pnimis, what's the Nekud of Eshavas Ha'elam? What's the Nekud of Melech Alayla? That the Nekud of Pnimis is the Nisgalus of the Kesher of a Yid with the Eibush. And that's Nisgale through the Indian of Melech Alayla Kipshutli. So it's a different beer, or the whole concept of Binyan HaMalchus with Kesher. So here the Rebbe got the beer. Now, Bissel der Hezbollah is that we're going to have to see B'Hemshech HaDvar.
So the Tachtenim is the Yidden, not the Eilam.
No, Yidden is L'chatchila Atzmas in the Davar Nibda. Yidden L'chatchila are a Dirre.
Oh.
It's what the reality of a Yid is it comes in a practical view through a Tachtin becoming a Dirre. Lamar Zayn, what the Rebbe is going to be master. Maybe will make us. We have to read a little bit the Hemshech.
Able to become a Dira, the Halacha about it has to be with Yidden.
They're the ones. Without them, without the Atzim Davar Azulas, you can't have a concept of Direi B'Tachtenim. Direi B'Tachtenim is the practical view of what a Yid is.
But it's
Let's
much
say it that
lower.
way. We'll see. So we have to see what it's saying. That's why it's very important to see the Maamar. I'm saying I think we spoke too much in this paragraph, and we should have. Da fana beslavayter, but when wir können lernen beslavayter.